Alright, so I wanted to do a video like this for a very long time, but obviously most of you guys know I just upload videos from my PS4. You know, I don't have a PC, but now we're lucky enough to have frames in the game. So all of that stuff that you guys hear me talk about frames, I'm pretty much going to go over with Law right now. So often when you guys hear me say, oh, I'm plus, or oh, I'm minus, I shouldn't be pressing, or I'm getting mad at my opponent for pressing in situations where he's minus, the reason why I'm so mad is because when I say I'm plus, here's what that means. So in Tekken, right, moves have different advantages on plus, block, hit, counter hit, obviously. Moves also have different properties depending on how they hit. If they hit in the back, you know, if they hit at the side, you know, there are a bunch of different situations for that. But pretty much how it would work is your opponent would do a minus move, right? So I'm gonna have Paul do a shoulder. So I know Paul's shoulder. If I turn Paul's frames on real quick, let me show you guys what I mean. So Paul's shoulder is minus 14, right? And how do I know that? If I block this move, oh, it's minus 16, sorry. Paul's shoulder is minus 16, and I know that because it says minus 16 right there under Paul's frame advantage when he does the move, right? So what does that mean for me? That means that I can move 16 frames quicker than my opponent can because my opponent is more minus than I am. And what that means is if your opponent is minus 16, launch punish in Tekken is 15. So you would launch Paul for doing this with a down forward 2 or a hop kick if it reaches, but most likely a down forward 2. Obviously do your wall carry combo, yeah. But yeah, that's usually what I mean about, oh, my opponent is minus and I'm punishing. So I'm just going to show you guys a couple frame traps with Law, like some things that I like to use. So usually whenever I punish something, depending on what it is, will determine what I punish it with sometimes. Like for instance, right? If Paul does, hold on, sorry, not that. If Paul does forward 4-2-1, I think he has a forward 4-2-1. Yeah, there we go. If Paul does forward 4-2-1, right? It says Law is plus 12 in frame advantage, meaning Paul is minus 12. I would punish that with 3-4. It's a 12 frame knockdown, 32 damage. Or if you don't punish it with a 3-4, punish it with a 1-1-2. The reason that is because if you punish it with a 1-1-2, you're plus 6, right? And if Paul gets hit now by this plus 6 move, Paul is now in 6 frames of disadvantage, meaning it's still Law's turn, right? So now that I'm plus 6, what do I do from plus 6? I can either go for a mix-up after 1-1-2, like F1 plus 2. I can go for a slide. I can go for a throw. I can go for a low, or I can go for follow-up frame traps like back 2, down forward 1 to catch my opponent if he does something like a hop kick. And let me just show you guys that real quick. Let's go to simple select and let me actually do double Law. Yo, having frames in the game, yo, you guys don't even understand how much that changes the game up. Like, having frames for your average player obviously won't mean anything, but for a player like myself who really studies the game and understands why certain things work, it can expand your game to an entirely different level. Because characters you already didn't know about, the frame system will help you out know those situations way better. Like me, I already know I struggle against characters like Lei, like characters with strings or characters with stances. So against characters like Lei or Zafina or those characters, it will help me out way more. Anyways, let me show you guys what I mean, right? So I'm gonna have Law do this, right? 1-1-2 into down forward 1. So 1-1-2 and I'm gonna hop kick. Hold on. I can't hop kick, as you can see. It's a frame trap. The only thing I can do here after this 1-1-2 on hit is block or punch parry or try to sidestep or something within the lines of that. You get me? So that's what I mean. Moves in Tekken have different properties on hit and obviously on block. I'm sure most of you know that by now. When a move hits, you have to have an option for when the move hits, and you have to also have an option if the move blocks. So if I do 1-1-2, right? On block, you see that 1-1-2 is -1. Hold on, let me do this. It's -1, right? -1 doesn't necessarily mean that it's not my turn anymore. With -1, I can, you know, still continue pressure with things like jab, magic 4, or I can go for a sidestep if I think my opponent is going to counteract me with linear moves. So yeah, that's just pretty much how the game works. Like, off of down back 3, as you can see, down back 3 is 17, in between 17 and 19 frames, depending on the distance the move hits, right? Does it always come out at 17? Well, yeah, it appears that it always comes out at 17, but as you can see, it's +4, right? If I'm +4 after this, I can do down forward 1, I can do down forward 4, I can go for back 4. Back 4 is really good because back 4 is homing, and it will catch your opponent if he's trying to step after this down back 3. What else? F1 +2. F1 +2 is a really good move on its own, just because obviously the move puts your opponent in crouch. You're +3 on block. See? +3 on block. Your opponent recovers in crouch. The only thing you can do from this situation is sidestep left on P1, and on P2 you would be able to sidestep right to beat all follow-up options. Right? And if you're playing a decent enough law player, or you are a law player yourself, usually I like to tell people follow up your F1 +2. Wait. Follow up your F1 +2 with a while standing 4, if you can do the while standing 4 DSS. The reason why is because that while standing 4 is a frame trap. Can't match after this. Right? You have to eat that while standing 4, or you just continue holding block and respect the situation and just try to read your opponent. But if you can do the while standing 4 after that F1 +2, again, it creates pressure. So I'm gonna just record a couple options. Oops, I fucked up. Let's actually do F1 +2, 3 +4. Do F1 +2, DSS2. And no, actually, I think that's fine. But yeah, you would basically beat it like that. Like, pretty much, if you know Law is going to do follow-up options after that, again, you would just work on how you're going to defend against that, pretty much. This is pretty much how you work on defending against your main character, essentially. But yeah, pretty much you always have an option. One option for, one option as a frame trap, and you have one option as a homing. Just in case your opponent is sidestepping or he's using moves with built-in sidesteps. A good example of this, right, is, let me go to simple select real quick. If I choose Harang, right, and I play Law, I know Harang players, well, some of them, they like to use fucking back 1 like crazy online. So if I'm a Law player, right, and I know back 1 is a move with a built-in sidestep, obviously on block, back 1 is not safe. It's -12. Yeah, but if I know he's going to use that move, and I'm predicting he's going to use it, obviously I'm going to use the back 4 preemptively in order to stop him. So here's what that looks like. Hold on, let's record Law to do 1-1-2, back 4. Or actually, no, not back 4 yet. Let me do 1-1-2, down forward 1, because that was the first frame trap option I showed y'all. So pay attention to what happens. With 1-1-2 on hit, Harang can back 1, as you can see. On hit, he's at 6 frames of disadvantage, but because this move has a built-in sidestep, it's actually able to beat out my frame trap follow-up option. So this is what I mean about coming up with an option to counteract that option. So if I know I'm playing a Harang player that's fucking gonna use this back 1 every time, 1-1-2, back 4, or you're gonna do something that hits in the direction at which you know your opponent is sidestepping. Oh, actually, let's turn the first one off. My bad. Wait, get hit. So you see, your opponent can't back one out of that on hit anymore. Cannot back one. And this is pretty common actually for people to use moves with built-in sidesteps to beat out your frame advantage. The only thing he would start to do here now after he notices that I came up with an option to beat this is now to block. Because if you block a back four, as you can see, you're 7 frames faster to move than I am, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much how Tekken works, one-on-one. Is there any more setups that I have with Law that I want to go over? I'm trying to think. Oh, we can go over a few more actually. There are a few more setups that I use on a regular. Like sometimes you'll see me do F1 plus 2 while standing forward 3 plus 4 4, or F1 plus 2 DSS forward 2 into magic 4. DSS forward 2 on block. It's neutral. So in this situation, since you're neutral, right, and you're plus, by the way, a perfect while standing forward DSS, I'm pretty sure you're plus. Yeah, see, plus 6, plus 7 too. That's why I'd be so confused when people poke out of this shit online. I'm like, dude, my DSS is perfect. Like, I can understand if you poke out of F3 plus 4, because F3 plus 4 is 25 frames, and obviously it's much slower, so you would be able to jab interrupt this. Right? I can just show you guys that real quick. Sometimes I use this once people start ducking. Whoops. Come on, man. There it is. You can interrupt this. You can interrupt this up to 15 frames. Up to 15 frames, even on a perfect while standing forward DSS. This is only good if people start to duck your highs out of DSS, but I already showed you the way to beat Law's DSS is by sidestepping rather than ducking. Because if you duck, you get hit by 3 plus 4 4, right? If you also duck, you also risk getting hit by this. DSS forward 1, right? So best way to beat Law, in my opinion, is just go right, block. You beat the back 4 option, the back 4 is minus. But yeah, I'm just doing some Law homework right now. That's some pretty good homework I'm doing, actually. Yeah, you can either do while standing forward DSS forward 2 or forward 3 DSS forward 2 as well. That's really good. Forward 2 on hit is plus 6, as you can see, so it's still your turn. You can go for down forward 1 3 2, maybe a low mix up, a throw, anything within the lines of that. But yeah, any of you guys that have the frame data, I really recommend going into practice mode and just breaking it down. Start to figure out your own character. Like, if you're a Law main, I really think that you should know your character by heart. Like, you shouldn't be getting hit by things by your main character, especially if you know the properties of a lot of the moves, right? Don't get hit by junkyards if you're a Law player. Low parry. Don't get hit by down forward 3 3 3. You know, don't get hit by shit like that. Try to low parry those dragon tails. So on and so forth. Hopefully this was helpful though.